Hello students! By the time you're watching this video, you would have already have watched my welcome video that gave you a little bit of information about myself, and you should have already watched the tutorial on how to navigate Canvas as a student. So the purpose of this video is to give you very important information about our class this year. Not only will we go over information about the course itself, we'll go over the rules for the class, and also talk about our procedures for the school year. Now this is going to apply to all students. So whether you are a student who will be here in person every day, or you are a student who will be at home, either completely virtual on your virtual day, those hybrid students, all of this is equally important for every one of my students. So make sure you listen carefully, you pay very close attention, and if you do have questions, please let me know. So first, let's talk about Global Insights. Global Insights follows the World History curriculum. We emphasize a little bit more on the European part of the world. And this course is, of course, one of the history courses that is required for graduation. You cannot just blow off this course. It will give you that history credit that you need in order to graduate from Captain Shreve. It is at the accelerated level. Some of you are in enriched, some of you are in honors. All the expectations are equal for you. It is a challenging course. The expectations that I set for my students are very high, and it is going to require you to work hard and do your absolute best on every single day. It's fair to say that as a person, we all know that we have good days and bad days. Same thing happens with history. There are interesting topics in history, and there are dull topics in history. So what I'm asking you to do is make sure, no matter whether those topics are dull or interesting, you are ready to learn every single day. It's not going to do any of us any good to say, oh, I really don't like this, I don't want to do that. You're not going to hear me say that, even though there are certain topics that are not my favorite. I am going to get through them to the best of my ability, and of course help you understand this material as best that I can. So as a teacher, my job is to be ready with content and be organized and have myself available to you if there is something you don't understand. And your job as a student is to be attentive and ready to learn every day. So again, whether we like something or not, it's not going to do us any good to complain. Let's just make the best out of what we have, and we together will get through this school year. Now, on my welcome video, I mentioned how much I love teaching history, and I wanted to take this moment to remind you that even though I love history and I've been teaching for 21 years, I'm not going to be one of those teachers who pretends to be a walking encyclopedia. No one likes those people who think they're a know-it-all. I am not that person. I learn new things every day about history. History is so much information, and we're constantly learning and exploring more and more. So I look forward to hearing so many things from you and what your knowledge is, and we can kind of play off of each other. And again, we're all in this together, and that's the great thing about a history class. No one's going to act like they know more than anyone else. I'm not going to do that. You're not going to do that. We're all going to cooperate and learn new things together and share what we know as far as our knowledge goes. Let's start talking about the classroom rules. Now again, I know not all of you are here in person, but that may change during the school year. So we have to be prepared for any kind of change. So whether you're here or not, the rule is when I am speaking, you are listening. We can only have one person speak at a time. So it's either you asking a question or responding to a question that I have, or you're making a comment about the material we're going over, or I am delivering material, but we cannot speak at the same time. I cannot have a number of students carrying on their own conversations while I am trying to deliver content and instruction. It does not work that way at all. Even though the class sizes will be rather small, we cannot operate in that manner. So all I'm asking you to do is when you want to speak, when you want to say something, you raise your hand, I will finish what I'm saying, and I will give you the floor. We're not going to yell out anything or talk out of turn. There may be some instances where I ask for class responses, and I will let you know whether it's a class response or I do want you to individually, raise your hand to answer, some of my questions. Now, with the style that I teach in, which is a dialogue teaching style, more about that later, you will have many opportunities to ask your questions and voice your opinions. We just have to make sure you're doing it at the appropriate time. You're not interrupting myself or another student, and you're not purposely trying to say something to hurt a student or to get a laugh out of the class. That is not what we are in here for. So be very careful with your words. Choose them wisely. Again, you're going to have many opportunities to ask your questions and provide information and your knowledge, but just make sure it is the appropriate time to do that. I create a very welcoming environment in my room where I do not allow anyone to put down people, make fun of people. Again, this is not the place to do that. So keep that in mind when you are in my classroom. You will treat everyone with respect is our number 3 rule. I will treat you with respect. You will treat me with respect, as well as the rest of our classmates. So this means we're not going to interrupt one another. Again, we're not going to holler out things. We're not going to say, man, that's stupid. Don't say that. Again, none of that is taking place in this classroom. When we have Zoom meetings, again, all of these rules apply to those Zoom meetings. We're going to respect one another, and it's not going to be any other way. We are not going to tell someone to shut up. That is considered very disrespectful. You will never hear that come out of my mouth, so please don't use it with your peers, okay? Especially in my room. If you're going to, say that on your own time, I have no control. But in my classroom environment, this word will get you disciplined. So please make sure you understand that. Again, this is a history class. There are going to be so many opportunities where I want to hear your opinion about something. But I'm reminding you again, we've got to be careful with our words. No one's going to make fun of you. There are no stupid questions. As long as your questions pertain to the subject matter, then you're good to ask those questions, okay? Don't walk out of here with your questions not being asked. I cannot read your mind. So it's very important that you communicate with me and let me know if there is something you do not understand, okay? So just remember, numbers 1, 2, and 3 rule kind of all go together. We're going to raise our hand when we want to speak. We're going to obviously respect one another and make sure we are listening to each other and not all talking at the same time. So those first 3 rules, not a problem at all. Next, I'm going to talk to you about a little word to the wise Keep in mind that right now our classes may seem small, but that can always change. So even if you have a class of 5 people, what I'm about to mention can still pertain to a small class size. And what I'm getting at is the fact that I'm a pretty good judge of people. I've been doing this for a long time, so I can pretty much pick out very early on who those students are that might think they're considered what we call a class clown. Let me just say that those type of students will not be tolerated in my classroom as well as on Zoom. You have no right to interfere with my teaching and with the learning of others. So this is in place to protect all of you students who are hopefully here to learn, because that's what we're here for. We're not here for someone to disrupt this process. We're not here for a class clown to try to get all the attention. You better think real, long, and hard if this has been your personality in the past, because this will not be tolerated in my classroom. If you got a problem, that's at home or going on outside of the classroom, don't bring it into our classroom, okay? Leave that at home. I'm not going to burden you with things that are going on in my life. So let's make sure you're keeping any kind of issues outside of this classroom. Now, if it's something that is going to, come between your classwork, then you need to bring it to my attention, one-on-one, and we can sit down and we can talk about it. But do not make your problems someone else's problems, okay? Always, always think before you start speaking, okay? Again, we're not going to mess with anyone. We're not going to make fun of anyone. And you need to think really hard before something comes out of your mouth. So just remember, we are all here for a better education, to learn more than what we knew the day before, and that is what our classroom environment is going to be. So if you have any questions about this, you come see me and we can have a one-on-one about this. Let's talk about where you're going to sit. This is very, very important. For now, I'm going to allow you to choose where you sit. Make sure in the classroom, of course, for those of you that are going to be in the classroom, it needs to be somewhere you can see. You'll be focused and attentive every single day. You want the least number of distractions as possible. And where you sit does say a lot about who you are. If you're purposely going to choose a seat in the back of the classroom, that's like a red flag to me. So try to choose wisely and keep these in consideration when you do choose your seat. If you try to pick a seat next to your friend or someone you're tempted to talk to, then just realize that you may be asked to move in the future, okay? You're going to have to show a lot of discipline on yourself not to speak to that person when I am teaching. So again, there's really not going to be a whole lot of group work because of the school year we're dealing with. And there's no reason for you to turn and start talking to another student. So choose your seat very wisely. If I do have to move you, make sure you do it without question, because you have given me reason to move you. That is usually why I have to move students, unless you're truly in a seat that I really need for someone else. That's happened too. So sometimes I may move you. You've done nothing wrong, but I really need your seat for one of those students who is being asked to move. They're basically begging me to move them because they're not doing the appropriate thing. It is colder in the middle and the back of my classroom, so make sure you do bring a jacket if you end up in that area of my classroom. It is very important that once I put you somewhere, or you choose somewhere, this is where you're going to be. We have to do this especially for contact tracing. All right, I'm going to stop this video and get ready for the next one.